School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Mr. Joe Vera Cruz will now lead us in the invocation.
Heavenly Father, once again, Lord, we thank you for another day that wasn't promised. We thank you for a new season, Lord, and really appreciate all the servant leader hearts in the room tonight. Father, we thank you for the love that they give to this district and all that they give on their own, Lord. As always, Lord, our students are number one in our hearts and our minds, and tonight, Lord, we want to lift up Miguel Rodriguez and his family, Lord, that you may comfort their family, Lord, put a hedge of protection upon them, give them just a peace, Lord. And as always, Lord, we ask for the safety of our students as they come and go each and every day. In your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Students from Daniel Intermediate will lead us in our pledge.
Good evening. Good evening, President McNeely, School Board, and Dr. Smith. My name is Mackenzie Brown. I am a part of Daniel Flag Program. I would like to introduce the other members. Warren Durham, Marianne Lopez. Our sponsors are Coach Koch and Mr. Yeager. Each morning and afternoon, Daniel Flag students are responsible for raising and lowering the flag using proper flag protocol. One thing I like about being in flag is when we hang the flag halfway, we honor the people who have died and are suffering then. Thank you for the opportunity to lead the pledges tonight.
Thank you. The board would like for y'all to come around, and we would like to shake your hands. We now move into the recognition. Ms. Tiara Richard.
Good evening, Board, President McNeely, our Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. The recognitions at tonight's meeting are all about our district leadership, the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees. In honor of School Board Recognition Month, we celebrate you. If given the opportunity, students from every campus would be here showcasing their talents and skills. But out of respect for the district and the business being conducted tonight, we have Daniel Intermediate School that was selected on behalf of all of our schools to say thank you. You'll hear from you'll hear from our choir, which will perform 2 songs, and we're proud to have our school board and thankful for your support and your service. Without further ado, the Daniel Intermediate School Choir.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. And thank you, Ms. Richard.
Thank you.
We will now move into the superintendent's reports. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. School board members, I tell you, I don't know about the superintendent's report after that performance. Excellent job. We certainly appreciate the students. And, of course, January is the month that we recognize school board members. Of course, we appreciate our school board members all throughout the year, but this is a time of the year where we just take a pause and reflect, show our appreciation and support of our school board members. The students and their performance tonight, all of our campuses have shown their support and appreciation for you. Just to our right there, you have each board member has a bag of goodies represented from all of the campuses just to show just an expression of support on this particular month. I have just a couple of items that I want to share during the superintendent's report. The first, in recognition of our school board for this month, I personally want to thank our school board members. First, I want to thank you for your commitment to serve. Most people think that you show up just once a month for a meeting, and there's nothing that happens in between that time. But of course, you all know very different. So I want to just express my appreciation for your commitment. Lots of hours of preparing for meetings, spending your personal time away from family, supporting the district or dragging your family to district events, still to support our district. The hours that you spend in training over the summer and throughout the year to maintain the credentials that you need to have to serve as a board member is much appreciated. And then support. Every leader needs supportive people behind him or her to help the goal and the vision come together. And so I am very fortunate that I work for a very supportive board. And so I want to thank you for supporting me as superintendent, supporting our leadership team, all of our goals, our strategies, the plans that we work so hard to bring to you to help improve our district. You ask us the tough questions, which you should do, but you're always very supportive of what we are doing in the district to improve our school district for our students and our staff. And then just the professional standard that you have in serving as a school board member. There is a professional standard that goes with this awesome responsibility that you have, and I've been in awe watching you work. And your professional decorum, everything from running a school board meeting to following the board operating procedures to keeping me in line when you need to, and having balance and giving me the flexibility to run the day-to-day, juggling community concerns. I mean, you have so much, but you maintain such a professional decorum and demeanor in exercising your role as a board member. And I want you to know it makes a difference for me and the work that I'm able to do in the district. And I'm very much appreciative of all you do. So thank you again for your service. I have two other things that I want to update you on during the superintendent's report. The next is Dallas County Promise. You may remember me talking about that. You may remember early last year there were several school districts and schools within school districts that were listed as a part of Dallas County Promise, and we were not one of them. And so we, at the time, did not meet the criteria to participate in that process. And so since that time, our team, and we've gotten together. Actually, last week I had a meeting with Dallas County Promise, and we are in the process of completing the application so that our students can benefit from the Dallas County Promise program. Once we are approved, which I believe we will earn that status, Duncanville High School students will be provided full scholarships to attend any Dallas County Community College for up to 3 years or once they complete their degree. And so this is an awesome opportunity for our students. We already have a lot of comprehensive programming in place. It was just a matter of building that relationship and sharing what we're doing and going through the application process. And our team has done a good job to put us in position to be considered. And so we should know our status in April. And so I look forward to presenting the results in April to the board, and hopefully we will be acknowledged and recognized, and our students will be able to take full participation in all that it offers. And it just supports our Collegiate Academy, all that we're doing to improve the college readiness of our students in Duncanville. And so I'll keep you posted there. The next item that I had on the superintendent's report was in reference to the name change of Middale. Last week, the Duncanville City Council had a meeting, and they entertained our request to change Middale Road to Kathy Self-Morgan Way, and that was indeed approved, and so we appreciate the city in doing that. And so we are in the process of planning a celebration and an unveiling, and we'll do that probably toward the end of March. So I'm going to go ahead and go on record, and Kathy's not here, so I'm going to go on record and claim we'll win a third state championship. And so it'll be sometime after that third state championship victory that we'll have just a nice ceremony for Kathy and an unveiling of the name change of the street. So those are the 3 items that are on the superintendent's report. And so now at this time, we'll call Ms. Fields up, and she'll give you an update on our bond program. As she's coming up, we're making really significant progress. Looking forward to completing all of the projects that were committed to the district, to the community rather, back in 2014 when the bond was passed. And so Ms. Fields will give you the details, and you can follow along on your iPad or on the screens in front of you.
And good evening, President McNeely, board members, and Dr. Smith and waiting audience. Again, it's my pleasure to present to you the update for the 2014 bond program. I wasn't with you last month, but we've made some significant progress, as Dr. Smith has said, and so we'll be moving forward. I want to move through this very quickly, just reminding you and, of course, reminding the public about the great investment that you've made in Duncanville and the students with the new construction there, and we'll move to the next slide there. Of course, all the district-wide upgrades, safety security packages 1 and 2 complete, technology package just 1 and 2 complete. But we want to kind of highlight this slide under the aging facilities. Of course, last school year we completed the work at Daniel Intermediate, and in package just 1 and 2 of the aging facilities. That's where we are right now. The report I received on last week, we're about 51% complete with the aging facilities. As I spoke with Dr. Smith, we're making great progress. We're going to show you quite a few photos here shortly about those. And so part of that package includes, of course, the restroom facilities, upgrades that are on the campuses, and we're just thankful to the Huckabee architectural firm and also to North Star for their continued work in our district. So I want to share quite a few photos with you. Basically, this was then and this is now. As you see there at Alexander Elementary, you see quite a bit of work that they've done. Minor finish work is being done there, and we'll move. Alexander Elementary, again, under phase 1, this is the gym restroom. So they're touching more than just the student restrooms, but also some there on the gym restroom. You see it really looks good there on the right-hand side. At Smith Elementary, phase 1, sections 1 and 3, again, kind of the beginning, and then you see the finished work, and everything looks really, really nice there with the finished work. The handrails have been to be installed there for handicap accessibility. And then At Smith, they had some additional aging facilities work there in the library circulation desk. That was also complete. And you see on the right-hand side how nice that looks with the cabinetry work that was done. Hardin, Phase 1, again, complete, installed, and we're working on Hardin Phase 2, the other sections of the facility there. And you can see where they are, the rough-in work that's been done, the tiling, the floor to be installed, which will hopefully be installed. And we've probably made quite a bit of progress because these pictures were taken the first week in January. You can move there, Duncanville High School, the auditorium, it is complete. So you can see that if you get a chance to go over and visit, you'll see that at the auditorium is finished. Central Elementary School, again, this was then, this is now, the way it looks there, you can see the completed work. And Central, again, they're still having to dig down, do some demolition work. This is on Phase 2, Section 2 and 3 of the school there at Central. Again, outside, an exterior canopy was installed as part of this. And so they're rerouting the irrigation lines. All of that is currently in progress. At Fair Meadows, again, Section 1, you can see the completion. And what we did, we finished one section so that we could have make sure the students had accessibility so we could swing to the next section. Of course, this is also in the gym. And there are Fair Meadows there that you can see the work that continues there. And at Merrifield, which was really the last campus that we touched initially, you can see the work done working on the vestibule. They're pouring back the concrete. And then now you see where the vestibule, the work there with the secure vestibule with the glass in. And then at Panther Stadium, which is, the work has really made a lot of progress there since football season. And we're looking ahead. You see there, of course, the work will continue at Brandenburg, Byrd, and Reed. A lot of the work that we need to do to prep will begin here pretty soon, but then the actual working will begin in the evenings at spring break. And then the intercom and the fire panel upgrades, they've already started that work. It's pretty out of sight for the most part because it's mostly wiring lines and fire panels. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
On the first two that you mentioned, the safety and security package and the technology package, I know those are complete, and I see the cost there. Were there any savings as a result of those? Did we completely spend all that money?
There are some savings. We've been returned some funds back to the school district already for some of those packages, and we're anticipating we're going to have some even after we finish aging facilities. There's still work to be done with safety and security at the Brandenburg campus. They did not get any, so that money is still sitting there. So they'll get the secure vestibule, the card readers, the hardware, everything. They will get the same things that the other campuses received.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. We will now move to the consent agenda. All items may be acted upon at the same time. Do I have a motion?
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented. Sorry, Carla.
Totally fine.
Second.
Tom made the motion and Phil seconded it. Are there any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. We will now move on to the action agenda. Mr. Kreisberg, TASB localized policy update.
Yes. Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Bringing to you for a second reading and also request of approval for TASB Policy Update 109, again resulting from the 85th legislative session this past summer. With that are 17 amendments, modifications, or changes to local policy, and then 109 legal policies have modifications or adjustments resulting from the summer work of our legislature. So with that, I've listed those local policies that are directly impacted. on the summary sheet. And also provided to you were various documents from TASB to give explanation to those changes and modifications. So those are presented to you for your consideration, hopefully approval. Any questions?
Okay. Do I have a motion to consider approval of the TASB localized policy update 109?
Madam President, I move that the board approve policy updates as recommended by TASB Policy Services and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 109.
I second.
Tom made the motion and Janice seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. We will now move into the informational section. The first person on is Ms. Melissa Cates to do a presentation of the city.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. Tonight we have Kevin Hugman, the city manager from Duncanville, and with him we have the Director of Economic Development, Jessica James. And as they make their way up here, Kevin Hugman's going to give a presentation on some proposed development for property in the city of Duncanville. And part of the property that he's going to discuss tonight involves property along I-20, and the school district actually owns some property along that corridor. So without further ado, here is Kevin Hugman.
Thank you, Melissa. President McNeely, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith, thank you for inviting us here this evening. We're glad to be able to be here and talk about one of our favorite subjects, and that is the future vision of Duncanville and development opportunities that we see coming. I would like to take the opportunity to recognize a couple of people that are here as well with me this evening. The President of the Economic Development Corporation, Barry Gordon, is here. Vice President Steve Dial, one of our board members, Dave Galbraith, is here as well, and our Economic Development Director, Jessica James. In July 2016, the city undertook a comprehensive planning effort. The City Council created a 15-person steering committee to work with the staff and a consultant and gather public input for what the future vision of Duncanville should be. That comprehensive planning steering committee also included a member from the school district. The comprehensive plan is a 20-year strategic guide. It's meant to be a living document. It is not cast in stone, and it is certainly something that we will look at every few years to see what the economic conditions are, the market conditions, and what has changed. And it's also, as a guideline, it is not a zoning plan. It is not a rigid document. It is simply guidelines for the future development of what we see for Duncanville. It identifies future land use opportunities within the city, both in development opportunities as well as potential redevelopment opportunities. Within the plan, it identifies 10 specific areas in Duncanville as opportunity areas. 3 of those areas were identified as higher priority, one of those being Main Street and another one being Opportunity Area 6, which is along Camp Wisdom. Opportunity Area 6 is located south of I-20 and east of Main Street. It abuts single-family residential to the south, and it is adjacent to the downtown district on the west. This area is a very key area to the city. Because of its location on I-20, it is a key gateway to the city, and it certainly can serve as the gateway to Duncanville and provide the image that we want of Duncanville. The recommendations for development of this area include upscale, retail, and commercial, and what we see as an entertainment area for Duncanville, serving as a destination to bring people into Duncanville, certainly, again, using the interstate highway system and the highway corridors. It would also serve to pull people into the core city area, into the downtown district as well. And with the hotel development along that area and what we see as future retail and entertainment and restaurants, we believe that can help to bring a lot of people into Duncanville. Some of the strategies that were identified for development of this area include developing redeveloping vacant properties that will draw from a larger retail area. Right now, a lot of the retail that's in that area is considered neighborhood commercial services. And again, what we see is something that is more of a larger area drawing from a larger retail area. We also see the opportunity for improving the corridor aesthetics along there. One of the things that that will be upcoming is the I-20 Service Road project. TxDOT will build continuous service roads between Main Street and Camp Wisdom. So especially on the south side, we see that as an opportunity for redevelopment along that area. With that project, we will have a great opportunity to do some major landscaping and gateway enhancements along I-20. As part of the redevelopment strategy for that area, what we also see is redeveloping those businesses to face the main corridor of I-20. Right now, a lot of those businesses have their backs to I-20. What we see is as that redevelops, as new buildings are built, that they face towards the I-20 corridor. And then also, we also have economic development incentives through facade improvement grants, and then what we have created in the form of a tax increment financing district, which will allow for the investment into public infrastructure. And I will talk about that a little bit more. This is a rendering of what we could potentially see along the I-20 area. To orient you on that, you're looking south across I-20 towards Camp Wisdom. Oriole Boulevard is on the left, and then towards the right you can see the Hilton Garden Inn and the future Hampton Inn and Suites. As you can see from this rendering, what we envision is development that faces the I-20 corridor, brings the parking interior to the development so that you have the retail, the commercial close to the street. You have a walkable development with sidewalks, wide areas for walking, for landscaping, and for outdoor dining. And we also see this area as being a potential for a conference or convention center as well. So as I mentioned, the Tax Increment Financing District was created by the City Council, and it includes the area that is shown on that map, and that includes Opportunity Area 6 as well as some additional areas. And as I mentioned as well, one of the future things that we see impacting this area is also the I-20 Service Road project, which right now is expected to begin construction in the year 2019, so next year sometime. So explaining to you as well what a tax increment financing zone is, it's an economic development tool that allows a taxing entity to take the incremental tax value that's generated within that zone and apply that tax revenue back into the zone. So when the zone is established, you have an assessed value, that base amount, and that base value, those taxes that are generated on that base value, still come back to the taxing authority, to the city in this case, into our general fund. But as property values increase, that incremental value, the taxes generated off of that are put back into a tax increment financing reinvestment zone, a separate fund, and those funds can be used then for public infrastructure improvements in that area. The idea is that as you put money into those public infrastructure improvements, that will help generate more economic development. Were we not to create this zone, that area may or may not develop on its own. More than likely, it would probably stay like it is for some length of time. But by being able to reinvest money into that with a specific revenue source, we can essentially help spur that development and increase the development, which will help generate more tax revenue over the length of that zone, the life of the zone, if you will. At the end of the life of that zone, when it is over, then all of that value returns back to the general ad valorem tax revenue. School districts do not participate in TIFs, and so really this has no impact on you other than should the zone develop as we hope it will and economic development occur in that area, then you will see increased property values in that area. Right now, the city is the only participant. We have talked with the county. At this time, they are not participating, but that is one of the other values of a tax increment financing district is that other taxing entities can also participate in it, which then helps, again, with additional revenue into the zone. So as I mentioned, a tax increment financing district does provide a financing mechanism, a specific source of revenue for funding public infrastructure improvements within that zone. And that increase in ad valorem taxes goes back into the TIF fund, and that TIF is governed by a separate board of directors, which is still subject to city council approval. It doesn't take away any of the revenue that is currently going into the general fund, into our revenues for our general operations. This is only the incremental values. And it only captures the value on real property. So personal property and sales tax revenues are unaffected, and those still go back into the general fund. So as I mentioned, the TIF is a 20-year TIF. It's established for 20 years, and at the end of that 20 years, then it will all go back into the general fund. So those are some of the things that we see as potentials and some of the things that we have put in place, that the City Council has put into place to help spur development in that area. Again, we see that opportunity area as one of the major opportunities for the city. It is one of the 3 priority areas that the City Council wants to focus on over the shorter term. And again, as I said to you, it is certainly a very essential part of what we see as branding Duncanville and creating the image that we want for the city of Duncanville. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have a question. Just a general question. Looking at this rendering, it goes from Main Street down to Oreo, but does not show anything past Oreo. I assume those plans.
On the rendering?
Yes, sir.
That's correct. That was just that focus area, but the opportunity area itself goes farther to the east.
Right. The question I have, though, is there's a number of businesses along that place you have there. Would they be required to not sell their business, but are you going to buy their businesses and do all this renovation, or do they have to help pay for that renovation, or how does all that work?
So there's a couple of different options. Certainly, as I mentioned, the Economic Development Corporation has different economic development incentive tools, including grants for facade improvements. So businesses that are existing that may want to invest in their business to make it look better can approach the EDC for a grant, and that can help them with wanting to perhaps redevelop the fronts and the facades of their buildings. Second opportunity could be that a developer comes in and may want to package or buy a certain number of parcels and create a larger development. All of this is seen as private development, though. The public side of that is putting the infrastructure in place that will help spur that development. Also with aesthetic improvements, with streetscape improvements along there, along Camp Wisdom Corridor, to help create that environment. There is a potential for public-private partnerships if a developer comes in and approaches the Economic Development Corporation, the City Council, then there are also opportunities for that as well. But most of this will be driven by development, by developers who see that potential, or existing property owners who want to upgrade their properties.
The rendering doesn't show anything north of Camp Wisdom, and there are a number of businesses in that area as well. Inwood Bank, Terry's Market, that whole shopping center adjacent to Terry's Market. Would that be done away with, or is this just a hypothetical?
Well, this is hypothetical at this point, and this is something certainly too that we see as long term. We don't expect this to happen within the next couple of years, but this is a potential for what could develop over the next 10, 15 years in that area. Again, it's subject to private investment and developers who may want to come in and see that opportunity. There's different parcels that are available right now, and there are some vacant storefronts, so there's a lot of different potentials there.
I just wonder, just looking at it, just how that all worked out, but just looking at this, if we could make Duncanville look like that, I got no issue with it at all.
Well, and that certainly is the dream. I mean, it is something, we want to dream big, and we wanted a rendering that where people could understand what the vision could be, what it could look like. And we also have a rendering in our comprehensive plan for the Highway 67 corridor for a section of that as well. But again, trying to create the kind of development, the mixed use, the restaurants, the retail, the shopping, the entertainment complex that will draw people into the area and be visually appealing as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the next question I'd have would be is there going to be some rules of building and construction that keeps everything looking not necessarily the same, but have some continuity of design and features, so we just don't have this over here and this over here?
Yes, absolutely. That is one of the things that's come out of the comprehensive plan, and one of the things that we are already starting to work on, and that is looking at our zoning and our development regulations. And so there's a number of changes that we will need to put into place to achieve this kind of vision that we don't have in place right now.
Cool. Thank you.
Have you had any developer that has shown interest in whatever these areas?
We have had some developers that have talked with us that have some interest. Not anything specific at this point in time.
Okay, and just help me, because I'm looking at this little map, and maybe I need stronger glasses, but this area 6, the property we have is not part of that, right?
It is. It is on the far eastern part of that opportunity area.
Shown on that rendering.
It's not shown there.
From what
It's not-
was on here, is this ours down here? Or is it?
It's essentially where that black asterisk is in that area.
I thought okay.
Is it the pink?
The opportunity area 6 is the purple cross-hatched area that's with the heavy
So
dark
our
outline.
property is not part of area 6.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's it should be the piece that's on the far eastern part of that,
Black asterisk is,
just south of Camp Wisdom
Oh, the red,
along I-20.
Oh, I see
not
that
the
one.
red, the black.
the red one?
The red
The black asterisk.
little bitty.
Well, it doesn't go down to Copper Hill Road.
Well, our property doesn't go
Our
there.
property doesn't
Okay,
either, 'cause
okay, I
there's,
see.
That's
Olive
Olive
Garden
Garden and all that down there.
yeah,
That wasn't
and Red
pretty good.
Lobster.
Okay.
Or red, whatever.
It is within the tax increment financing district too.
Okay.
Any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Hugman.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is our 2017-2018 Budget Development Timeline. Dr. Bigby.
Good evening. Actually, it's the 18-19 one.
Well, I
But,
was reading,
It would be a lot simpler if we just do the 17-18. I can just sit back down.
sorry, that's what was written down, I just read it.
And I still think it should be in the 80s, so I understand. In your material, there is a tentative calendar for what we intend on the budget development. If you'll notice, I don't have the page number. I'm just really horrible with page numbers.
161.
We haven't scheduled any budget workshops with the board. All the updates we've scheduled into the meeting, and we certainly hope to do it that way. Since the guys aren't, and girls aren't going back to Austin for a legislative session, we don't have to worry about how they're going to kill us in the next year, so at least we already know, and that'll allow us to move a little quicker with that. We've already started discussing budget in the senior leadership team. We've asked all the members there to bring special budget requests with them. Those will be all put together in one document, and then we'll work on prioritization once we get a little better idea what kind of revenue we'll have next year. I also have planned in here to go to each campus personally and discuss the budget with them. I think I'll talk about it a little more, but as open and transparent as we can be would be miles ahead of some of the feeling that we've kind of hidden some things from people. And Dr. Smith and I have had long talks about being transparent, and you're not going to find anybody that wants to do that any more than I do. I can't remember anything different except the truth, so we work from that and as honest as I can with people. Sometimes they're not real happy with that, but at least it's consistent and they understand where we're coming from. At the end of this month, we'll receive the Comptroller's Property Tax Division values that are set for Duncanville. If you'll remember school finance that you've discussed, the state stays a year behind us. So they'll take last year's property growth, and that's what they'll use when they determine our state funding. One potential problem is, and I want to say this to the city manager, but growth. Last year you had about an 8.5% property value growth, which is wonderful, and it puts a lot of money into our pocket for 1 year. And then the state figures out that we had it, and then they offset it the next year. So depending on what their values show, it'll either offset that or it can actually even hurt our revenue for next year, but we should know that by the end of January. I've looked at theirs for the last 3 or 4 years, and they're all over the page. Typically, you would think those would follow a year behind. If you went up 8.5%, they'd go up 8.5% the next year, but that's not been the case, so hopefully they'll be much less than that, and it'll allow us to have more revenue. April, we'll finally get the preliminary numbers for this year's property value in Duncanville, and that'll give us a real good idea of what our revenue should be. As I said, we're trying to keep all of this open, and we'll certainly share everything with you as it develops. Dr. Smith even said, but let's try to work some way that we can double the board's pay. So we're going to work that into this budget. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Still ain't get you a whole lot, but in recognition of the work that you do, we'd like to do that. It's looking forward to it. We're training people very quickly on budget in our office since there's been such a turnover there, and we'll be ready to go when we get it going. Questions, thoughts?
I'm glad I'm not trying to do that.
Oh, it's a lot easier working with numbers.
Thank you, Dr. Bigby.
Thank you.
Our next item is strategic plan goal number 3. Mrs. Fields.
Well, good evening again, and it is my pleasure to share the update of Goal 3 of our strategic plan, which is focus on operational excellence. As with the other district goals, the objectives and strategies and action steps support Duncanville ISD's mission, vision, values, and strengthens the culture of excellence in all facets of our work of writing success stories one student at a time. You see there on the screen, objective 1, which is all campuses and departments will follow clearly defined, aligned, and communicated processes and procedures to support Duncanville ISD's mission, vision, and values. It's the awesome transportation team there. Goal 3, Objective 2 is designing a systematic approach for internal and external communication on timeliness, frequency, and accuracy. And in the spirit of providing information seven different times, seven different ways, communications under the leadership of Ms. Tierra Richard has developed redundancy, speed, and accuracy by frequently publishing on multiple platforms. Of course, you see there 3 of our awesome publications through our communications department. Our website, of course, is our foundation for all of our information, our e-newsletters, our Duncanville School and Family Magazine, and one of the stats with that, we print about 3,000 of those, and then they're also available electronically. And of course, the other platforms, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and all of our news releases, internally and externally. To increase our timeliness, we've added consistency to all of our publications by having weekly and monthly and quarterly, so people really know when those will be available. And for accuracy, they developed a process for editing where at least 2 people edit each article. And really by the numbers, and you probably have seen, heard these numbers before from Ms. Richard, but with Staff News, which is our internal e-newsletter, they track the newsletter when it's open and the stories that are clicked on. The average number of Staff News emails open is approximately 71% between the 2015 and 2016 school years, and 2016 and 2017 they've continued and seen an increase. So people are accessing information and reading our stories. In line with processes and procedures, we have the maintenance inspections where we have been charged with putting together a schedule for all of our annual and semi-annual and monthly required maintenance equipment and testing and inspections. These inspections include things like elevators, outdoor lighting, boilers, roofs, HVAC system, and of course you see a couple of our staff members working there. Along with all of the inspections, the grounds crew and the maintenance crew last year closed out 7,796 work tickets, and those tickets are through our Eduphoria work ticket system, and it allows us to really monitor the request and the responsive time and the frequency of the request. And in many instances, if the request is repeated several times, they are reviewed as part of our maintenance repair replacement plan. So that's part of the thing that we would charge for this, charged with this year as one of our action steps. Again, under our annual testing, I just wanted to highlight for the board, I've told you some of the areas in which we do the annual testing, but I wanted to give you an example of the cost that goes along with that. We spend approximately $75,000 per year on all the annual inspections and testing, and there are some examples there for you. You see, of course, there are about 8,000 fire panels and suppression systems within the district, to the tune of $13,000. The grease trap maintenance, about $16,000 for 16 units. And the fire extinguisher inspections, our kitchen vent hoods. And of course, you can see the cost, but all of these have life safety ramifications. And so we take this process very, very, very seriously. Under Energy Management Board, you will recall in October that you approved our contract extension through January 31st of 2022, and wanted to just kind of highlight for you what we've done in the spirit of goodwill with our employees and our stakeholders. We did do some adjustment to our energy management system with the temperature control. Back in the summer when I came aboard in 2016. And so you see there, just wanted to highlight for you, even though we adjusted somewhat, you can see that we had basically some of the costs were reduced overall with the energy management plan. Technology Department, stats here, and this is under the leadership of Ms. Shantae Cowan. Of course, you see them as well tracking their processes, the number of tickets that were opened, closed, the number of hours, and you see quite a few tickets, over 10,000 from July up until this past December, and the number of calls for assistance. And so they also have strengthened their processes in regard to operational excellence. So I want to close our presentation by showing you a video put together by our technology department, which will punctuate the strength of the processes and systems that are in place across the district that support our goal of operational excellence. And so to that end, writing success stories, one student at a time. And so sit back and enjoy Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have two questions.
Yes.
I guess when I hit it a minute ago, I did something to it. Anyway, my first question has to do with one of the pages that I'm sure you didn't mean to pass over it, but processes and procedures, employee offboarding and key. Okay. Not supposed to ask these questions, obviously.
No problem. I guess it passed me. I looked up and it was gone, so I wasn't clicking my own slide, so I apologize for that. But I do want to share the exciting thing that we did with our key control and our alarm accesses. I think that's the slide perhaps that we missed.
Well, it is, but because I don't know anything about technology, or very little, if any, what is offboarding?
Offboarding is when people exit the district. Onboarding, when you come on the district, and that's more of an HR process where they onboard, where we get the orientation, we issue the keys, we issue the codes, we do a lot of the paperwork, et cetera. And so when you offboard, you're leaving the district. And so as part of the process of key control, so that we'll have a streamlined process, we now have partnered, even though the HR department's here, really working with them to make sure when individuals leave our school district, that the process is streamlined. So what we did, we included 2 staff members from the Maintenance and Operations Department, Mr. Joe Paterka, who is Director of Maintenance, along with Mr. Chad Rocker, who is our locksmith. And so they issue the keys. And so you have to sign for your keys So instead of passing them, if I would leave and pass them to Ms. Cates, perhaps if she's going to take my place, now you have to directly pass them back to the maintenance department, but they are notified that someone is leaving, so they know to get those keys and to kill the code. So it's all communication. That was really the streamlining of it, versus like we hear this person's leaving. Now Mr. Paterka knows as soon as it's entered in the dock to start securing the keys and working with the alarm codes.
Okay.
So I apologize for that.
It's not a problem. I just, when I was reading through this the other night, I'm going, God, that sounds mysterious.
It's not. It's like,
the vision I had was that people could creep into our systems and
oh,
do
no,
things
sir.
and
No,
at
sir.
least
No,
disrupt
sir.
that. So I'm glad you clarified
It's a
that.
secure Google Doc system as well. You have to be granted rights to even have access to it. So, yes.
The second question I have is really meant for Ms. Richard, but under Objective 2 about the publications, the magazine that we have, you mentioned that it's distributed about 3,000 copies now, but it's on web and stuff.
Yes, sir.
My question would be more to the fact that we have about 13,000 students in our district, which comprise, I don't know the number of homes, but when and if is it going to be possible that that magazine could go to each one of those homes so we can get this message out to the homes via a printed publication?
I can speak to that. The reason we're doing the quarterly magazine the way we are is because we've evaluated how our families receive their information, and the vast majority do use some sort of digital platform, but we do have a section of population that does not. And so those 3,000 that are printed are really mailed to our over 65 population who don't have students in our school. And so the target, that's the mailing list I have. So we're targeting the audience that does not necessarily receive that digital information. And so that's the purpose of the quarterly magazine, because it's the same information, the same articles that we've put on every other platform that we're using, from social media to the website to each of those internal and external e-newsletters that we produce. And so the plan is, it has been at least currently, to make sure that we're targeting the printed version going to those communities that don't necessarily receive it in the digital way.
So basically what you're telling me is we don't have any plans to increase the number of publications that we do.
No, we currently do not, but we have other ways that we're reaching those communities and making sure that we're actually doing mailers that will speak to those individuals specifically about what's going on in the district. Because in general, we try to be as targeted as possible with the information we're putting out, and so we look at the audience we're speaking to and make sure we speak to them about what they're not receiving or the best way they can receive that information. So instead of being a blanket, just throw it all out there, we're very targeted with how we push our information.
So do you have records or indications of the social media type targets? I mean, are people actually opening this and reading it? Do you have that data that shows that they are?
Absolutely, and for our communications update, we'll make sure that we share that with you. But yes, our social media is constantly getting regular updates of how often it's opened, how frequently it's opened, and the reach of who's been receiving that information. Social media specifically, in addition to our website, we get the information about how frequently people are going to stories, in addition to the e-newsletters. Those analytics are so specific to really guarantee we understand the reach that we're receiving with each one of our articles and the information that we push out. Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. I just, we just do so many good things, and I'm not so sure that all the good things we do actually reach the people that they need to reach, and I'm just trying to look for ways to make that happen. Thank you.
It's absolutely a moving target, but one that we're always aiming for and making sure that we're making adjustments as we go along.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you. It was my pleasure to be able to present that tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. We now move to the next item, the academic handbook. Dr. Hernandez. Many pages.
Good evening, President McNeely, board members, and Dr. Mark Smith. This evening, board members, we're going to bring to you our academic handbook. We've now engaged you in a 3-month series conversation around Goal 1, which is focused on student success. This is the time of year that we bring information to our student body as well as our parents with regards to their planning pieces in terms of middle school and high school. So the document that we're about to review with you is our academic handbook, and it is the centerpiece of what we use for our counseling guidance and information that we provide for our families. Dr. Gilmore Mankins is going to make the presentation on the academic handbook.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. It's an honor to stand before you this evening to highlight the middle and high school handbooks, course selection guides for the 2018-2019 school year. As you know, the course selection guides are designed to provide important information for our students on how they can be successful planning and selecting courses during the middle and high school years. The course selection guide is developed through a lengthy collaborative process involving groups of district stakeholders that includes teachers, counselors, administrators, and various departments throughout the district. In Duncanville ISD, a variety of courses are offered in all areas of the curriculum in order to meet the needs and interests of our students and to help them prepare for post-high school experiences, including 2- and 4-year colleges and universities, businesses and technical schools, fine arts, immediate employment after high school, and many others. The guide offers a description of courses to help students to personalize their plan toward graduation and career choice. In addition to the explanation of each course, other important information including grade placement, prerequisites, and fees are provided. Both middle and high school guides are organized into 3 parts. Part 1, administrative, which includes graduation requirements, academic services, and special services. Part 2, course offerings, which provides information regarding course sequencing and course descriptions. And Part 3, House Bill 5 endorsements, which provides detailed information related to personal graduation plans, career pathways, and college and career planning. At the middle school level, we have worked with the middle school counselors as well as the principals, and we have aligned all of our 7th and 8th grade electives so that each middle school will offer the same electives next school year. We also offer 8 courses in which students will have an opportunity to earn high school credit. At Duncanville High School, we're adding 8 courses in the Fine Arts Department, AP Art History, Musical Theater 1, 2, 3, and 4, Applied Music 1, 2, 3, and we are adding a new course for our Collegiate Academy students that's called MAPS, which stands for Methodology of Academic and Personal Success. The course focuses on skills and strategies necessary for students to make successful transition into high school and academic career. Students will explore options available in high school, higher education, and the professional world in order to establish both immediate and long-range personal goals. That course will also allow students who are not in Collegiate Academy to take the course as well. We have a few course name changes provided to us from the Texas Education Agency. Art 3 2D replaces Art 3. Art 3 3D replaces Art 3, and Printing and Imaging Technology 1, 2, and 3 replaces Newspaper and Yearbook 1, 2, and 3. Additionally, Duncanville ISD provides each student upon graduation with an academic and technical skills needed to pursue additional education in technical school, community college, college, or university related to a career interest identified in high school. DISD students have an opportunity to integrate academic and technical education. All students can succeed in a lifetime of success and excellence by exploring career options and make wise decisions on how to best follow a field of interest. Duncanville ISD College and Career Readiness Program provides 51 dual credit courses, 95 CTE courses, along with 5 college and university partnerships. Duncanville ISD continues to increase the academic and career options for students by providing an enriched education that includes a rigorous academic and technical course of study. Please note that all courses listed in the guide will not necessarily be offered each semester. Course offerings will be dependent on sufficient number of students being enrolled in each course to warrant scheduling. Students are encouraged to meet with their parents, their counselor, teachers for assistance in selecting courses that will meet personal needs for future and graduation requirements. English and Spanish versions of the course selection guide may be accessed through the district website. Links will also be shared through Skyward, social media outlets, parent meetings, and endorsement nights. And printed copies will be made available upon request. Are there any questions?
I do have a question, I guess, belabor the point, but one of the slides you showed was of great interest to me because I think it's, again, one of those slides that those of us in the school business know and understand, and I don't go back to it. It's the one that showed the number of selections. This one right here, DISD offers, that has the 3 bubbles on it.
Yes.
You know, that type of information would go very far in the community to educate people as to what we actually do in the school district and our high school. Questions I get asked often are, what do we do, Tom? I mean, what are we really offering our kids? Well, you know, if I just had that, I could say, here, this is what we really do. And I just think that's the type of information that needs to be out in the general public. I don't know whether it's on the website or not. I don't know whether it's in social media or not. But, you know, I just think that's the kind of thing we need to be telling our patrons, that we are doing things. You know, we are a good school district. We are progressing. We are doing what's required. And I don't think a lot of them know that and believe it without something to prove it.
I will say that I know that Dr. Hernandez is working with a team along with a PR firm, I believe, and they're working to put together a aggressive PR plan. And I'm sure they're working with the communications department on that. So there are a lot of great things that are going on in the district, and you're exactly right. We need to do really work on how we tell our story.
And I can speak a little bit more to that. The things you're talking about are the things that we've been tasked with making sure that we're doing, and what you have seen and will see is even more of that. It is on our website. We have been speaking with different groups and making sure that we're getting the word out, but there's a mailer that should be hitting our homes in the next coming months that speak to specifically from elementary all the way up to high school, the specific things that we offer in Duncanville ISD that make us unique. From our early education through to the upcoming STEAM Academy, all the way through to all of the different pathways at the high school, including our collegiate academy. So there are contextual things that people will be receiving and have been, will be receiving in the mail, but have been receiving in other formats in the coming months that will really connect it all. Because it is out there in different formats and fashions, but I understand that there are certain audience that need to receive it in their homes, in their hands, in an actual mailer and actual tangible paper that they can see and walk around with, and we know that we have a community that needs that. And so we recognize that and are definitely reaching that audience as we move forward and making sure that we've made adjustments to address and speak to those. But we understand the need and we're definitely addressing it.
I just think that particular graphic, you know, says a whole lot more than what we even see it say, and would say a whole lot more to the community than what we could tell them verbally if they saw just that one graphic right there of what we do at Duncanville Independent School District. Just a thought.
And still, email is not a bad idea. Some of us who are over 65 and do use some technology, like we get the staff news. The Board of Trustees will receive the staff news and a weekly report from Dr. Smith. I'm not saying send that out, but at Duncanville ISD Weekly News, and email it, I mean blast it, because I'm more apt to click on an email than I am to go to a website and say, oh, let's see what's going on, because emails are more instant, like Twitter or Instagram and that sort of thing. But for the over 65 crowd, we still use email.
And we
I mean, didn't we used to do like weekly updates, the good news?
We do. The Informer is a weekly newsletter that goes out every Monday to our community that speaks about the stories that we have going on.
And is it email?
Yes, ma'am. It comes email.
Gee, I don't even get that.
I think you have to sign up for it, don't you?
Yeah, and we actually are reaching with that particular newsletter at least 13,000 people and 13,000 homes. And again, that's where where Ms. Fields was talking about, we can see how often frequently it's open. So we know that it's reaching people. We know what stories they're clicking on, so we know what draws their interest. So we make adjustments on a week-to-week basis when we put that out to try to make sure that we're increasing that reach and making sure that people are actually clicking on the articles and stories that sometimes leads you back to the website. Sometimes it's story within itself that really tells you either about endorsement nights, the Collegiate Academy, the applications are open now. Today's newsletter talked about the flu. Chris put together a video that talked about making sure that you're taking these steps to address flu. So again, this is going out on a weekly basis, and that's just one way. That same information will duplicate across all of our other platforms. So we recognize that people don't get their information just on one way. And we know that different people use different formats, so we make sure that we blast it. And we talk about being aggressively put it across multiple platforms. That 7 different times, 7 different ways is more like 15 different times, 15 different ways, because we know that everyone gets their information their own comfort level in their own way. So we're using everything we can to make sure that we're pushing out in multiple ways.
How do you receive those emails? Are they off of student enrollment papers, or how do you get the emails that you send these to?
For the emails, yes, it's a student enrollment, but then we also have the opportunity, for example, city officials and people who live in the community to opt in and sign up for it. And if we know that there's a list of people that we think should receive it, what we'll do is we'll just add it to that list. Because you get all of that information from Dr. Smith, we may not have had you on that list, but we'll make sure that you receive that.
You're so sweet, thank you.
Thank you, Tom and Ms. Fahey, for that feedback. We'll respond accordingly.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Tiara, do we have any communication? Citizens? Okay, no.
Before I adjourn, I just want to thank the district for the love we felt and the appreciation. I feel honored and privileged, and I think I can speak for everybody to work for a district and trying to improve, because I couldn't be any prouder of what we're doing in this district and the steps we're taking. Are we perfect? No, nobody's perfect, but you know what? Every one of us strive every day to do a little bit better, and I hope that those of you out there know that this board really does have our kids in this district in our hearts. And I also want you to know that we appreciate you every day for the putting your feet on the ground and giving 110%. And I know each of you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. We appreciate that.
We don't have any communications from citizens, so with that, this meeting is adjourned.